Yo, what is going on YouTube? Crafty here, and we are back again with another Clash Royale top 5 video. I've been really enjoying these top 5 videos. If you guys haven't seen my last two, I'll leave them down in the description. One of them is the top 5 cards that seem overpowered but are not necessarily overpowered, and the other one is the top 5 underrated cards. You guys can probably see where this video is going. Top 5 most OP cards in the game. Obviously these are all my own perspective. I know a lot of the community believes this as well. I base my perspective based off of what I see from my own gameplay, from what I see when I play, and also what the community says. Look at Reddit, look at pro gamers such as Surgical Goblin. This is where I picked this all up from. So let's go ahead and kick it off with number 5. Number 5 is something that was recently added to the game. You can see it on the screen here, and that is the heal spell. So the heal spell is one of those things that, in my opinion, I do not think that it is healthy for the game. I don't think it is absolutely broken, but I don't very much like it. So let's put it in this way. A lot of people don't like the heal spell because it's basically a direct counter to the poison spell. Heal spell is very good when you play against decks that don't have things like arrows. So for example, you could use heal combined with a minion horde and it will shred anything. Unless they have arrows, then you can counter heal. Heal is also very good for 3 muskie deck because you can't poison the 3 muskies, you can't fireball the 3 muskies, you have to fireball zap combo them out, other things like that. So heal does a very good job at keeping strong cards that have low health alive, and it's one of those things, like I said, I don't think it has a place in this game. I don't think it was necessary, and I think it is slightly unhealthy for the game. However, I don't think it is absolutely broken. I think if the numbers were a little bit higher, then it would definitely be broken. But it is incredibly annoying. Obviously, I don't use it, so my perspective on it isn't 100% the best, which is why I still included it in this list. I think it is a very good card. I just don't think it really has a place in Clash Royale, outside of just being incredibly annoying, and it is making a lot of decks very efficient, such as the 3 Musketeer heal deck, or you got minions can be healed as well, so those are all big ones. The next, number 4 here, guys, is, in my opinion, the Inferno Tower. It's actually in my deck, so let's look at it right here. So the Inferno Tower is a card that for a long time I've sworn by. I literally think this card is very broken, and for a lot of different reasons. Well, it's one main reason actually. This thing is a hard counter to any tank in the game. There's only one tank, like true tank, that has tons of health in the game that is the same elixir as it, and all of the other tanks are more elixir. So pretty much this thing is a positive elixir trade machine. So you got 5 elixir here. Let's see what it's taking out. Taking out RG +1. It's taking out, I guess you can use it for Hog, so that's -1. You got Giant, which is even. You got Bowler, which is kind of a tank. You got Golem, you got P.E.K.K.A, you got Giant Skelly, you got Lava Hound. So like it's getting all these positive elixir traits. And also mind you that it could be taking out any of the other cards as well. Odds are this card is going to be getting more than 1 kill, going to be getting more than what it's worth in terms of elixir. It also is just such an incredible defense. It does such a good job at stopping huge pushes. If you are able to distract the counterattack card, or not the counter cards, but the defensive cards that are going behind, say, your Golem, like a Night Witch, effectively, then the Golem is going to be soloing this tower by himself. If you can distract the E-Wiz that's coming in to try to zap this out, basically this card gets so much value, it's incredible. So that is why I think it is at number 4, but I don't think it is the most broken card in the game. I do think it's kind of a crutch and fairly annoying, but the one thing that makes it not broken is the fact that there are many other buildings in this game that get played, such as Cannon, or Graveyard's really big, not Graveyard, but Tombstone's really big right now. Furnace was really big for a while. That was a while ago, but yeah, we're going to go ahead and open this crown chest. I forgot about this. Before we move on to number 3, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've actually been climbing trophies quite a bit recently, and I'm about to hit 3,400 for the first time. This is my PR. Before this, I was at 3248 was my highest, so I'm actually on an 8 win streak right now, doing a very good job with this. This is just such a standard log bait deck, but my levels for it are really good, and that's why I'm doing so well. I really enjoy this deck. If you guys have never played just the standard log bait deck, you got to try it out. And along with that, the reason why this deck is so good is the next card. So we're going to move on to number 3. Number 3 is the good old Knight. Now, the Knight is a card that I think is very, very, very overpowered, but also I think it has some balance, which is why I think it's at number 3. The Knight is a card that is a necessary evil for the game. It needs to be in the game. If they nerf it, then a lot of things will get thrown way out of balance and be way too good, at least in my personal opinion. So now, why do I think the Knight is OP? Why do I think it's deserving of a number 3 spot? Let's take a look at its numbers here. So at tournament standard, it's got about 1400 health. That's a lot of health for 3 elixir. It does 144 damage per second. That is very good DPS just for what it is. Personally, I thought this card was trash until about a month ago. You can go watch my very first, or I think it's actually my 3rd video. It's a Knight review, and I gave it like a 6 out of 10. Nah, I would give this thing a solid 8, maybe 9 out of 10 for what it's worth. Crazy damage here. Not crazy, but very good damage. The reason why I think this card is so good is because it counters literally almost all the cards in the game of relatively close or a little bit more elixir. It gets tons of positive elixir trades. It could even counter out things that you wouldn't ever expect it to. I'm actually going to show a picture right here so you guys can check out what it does. I think the only questionable thing on this list is the Skeleton Army, and I still think it does a good job at countering Skeleton Army. You drop it down in the middle, lure the Skarmy into the middle as well, and it can counter it out if you have the towers attacking it as well. I think it could also do the skeleton, the giant skeleton if you play it right, but you probably need other supporting cards as well. This thing will take out obviously other knights. It'll take out wizard, take out e-wiz, it'll take out executioner. This thing counters pretty much all like middle health characters in the game. It'll even counter a baby dragon even though it doesn't attack the air. You drop it down, distract the baby dragon, your tower takes out the baby dragon before the knight dies. Such an incredible card, so much versatility. Now the reason why I think that they shouldn't nerf him is that if you nerf him, then people stop using him. Then basically you have cards such as e-barbs, which go even more crazy. You have cards like the wizard that have that won't have as many counters, not virtually no counters, but won't have such a low elixir counter. If the wizard or other cards like that, such as like Prince or something, get by, you don't have a relatively high health card to stop it, then there's going to be huge issues with cards like that. They're going to snowball into a very unbalanced state. So this card, while being so versatile, he needs to exist, or else all of these other cards go way off. And you know, obviously this is something that's my perspective. It may not actually happen, but I do think that the knight needs to stay where he is. He could maybe take a little bit of a damage nerf, but I don't think they should touch his health at all, in my opinion. So let's move on to number 2, guys. Number 2 is the log. If you noticed, a lot of these are in my deck. Well, these 3 are. The first and the number 1, which you guys will see soon, is not in the deck, so it'll be kind of a surprise, but not really. So number 2, we have the log here. Now the reason why I put the log in here is that for 2 elixir, you're getting essentially what you get for a zap, but plenty of more damage. So let's look at this right here, 240 damage. Now let's look at what zap offers. At tournament standard, 149, so about 100 more damage. It's 91, I believe, more damage. It also does 70 or 96. I don't know where I got 70. 96 to the crown tower, which is pretty good here. Now it does only attack ground troops. That's the only downside to it, in my opinion. But if you run other cards in your deck, so I run Rocket and Princess, you don't really have to worry about air troops. I also have the Inferno Tower, which can take out other big air troops like Baby Dragon or Lava Hound or Balloon. So this card does an incredible job. Now, not only for the damage, but it also has a displacement into it. So if you use it, it'll knock characters back, which is very, very good at getting them off of your tower. You can use it to knock them back, drop a knight down in the front. Those enemy e-barbs or whatever is attacking the tower, bandit, other things like that attacking the tower are no longer on the tower. They're now on your knight. Very, very good card in terms of displacement, and it shreds pretty much all squishies in the game. Very, very good. Will take out Princess in one shot, and it also at a virtually 100 damage per every time it hits the tower. That's very good for chipping away, especially if you use it as like a prediction most of the time. This card is just such a good card for only 2 elixir. It offers so much. 11.1 range, huge range, much bigger range than the zap in my opinion. If you miss this card, you're doing something wrong. If you miss the zap, that's a little bit more understandable. So this is, you know, there's a lot of reasons why I think this card is just very, very good. Also look at its win rates and usage rates. I believe its usage rate is the one of the highest used cards in the game. I think it's top 3. I believe it's Skarmy, or I think it was Skarmy, at least what I looked at earlier. Zap and the log, but maybe it's mixed up a little bit, but I believe it's in the top 3 usage. So that is it for number 2. So let's get a little bit of a drum roll here for number 1. Alright, number 1 is the card that you guys were expecting, and that is the good old Night Witch. I don't have the Night Witch, but I do think that the Night Witch is absolutely broken. Definitely needs some sort of change in the game. Now, it is a card that is not that hard to counter. It really is not hard to counter. Like I said, the Knight will counter this card. If you guys looked at the list, Knight counters this card as long as you have the tower helping. Now, this card on its own is not that threatening, but it's when you use this card is when it becomes threatening. So basically you have a Golem pushing, you got Night Witch behind, you have another Splash Troop, you have somebody else that can tank for these two, obviously the Golem, but maybe like a Knight or like something else in that pile there. Maybe Valkyrie. Valkyrie would actually be very good in this combination. You have that all pushing, the Night Witch is constantly pumping out bats. So let's take a look actually. So bats right now, there are 4 bats per every time that you use bats, right? So 2 elixir for 4 bats. Virtually as soon as the Night Witch spawns in, she spawns in 2 bats, right? So it's going to take 3 more spawns for her to get her bats value, let alone that's just off of the bats. You don't even have to calculate her damage, but let's look at her damage. If she hits anybody, she's already getting a lot of value. 285 damage, 190 per second. That is very high damage for a card that's only 4 elixir. She single-handedly makes the mini P.E.K.K.A kind of useless in my opinion, because she has the bats flying out and she's already doing tons of damage. You no longer need the mini P.E.K.K.A. She can shred tanks. She can do pretty much anything if you play her right. You support her well, she's going to support everything else well. Bats are insane. They do tons of damage. They're hard to take out because they're flying troops. So obviously you can zap them away, but you don't have that up all the time. And she's still going to spawn them. She spawns them, I believe, every 5 seconds is her spawn time, or every 6 seconds. I believe they nerfed that. I think it was every 5 originally. Every 6 seconds, which is very fast, considering that if we take a look at the Witch is every 7 seconds, so it's spawning bats. For 1 less elixir, you're spawning flying troops, and you're spawning them at 1 second lower. So literally, you're getting so much value out of the Night Witch here. Just an incredible card. I think there's a lot of things that can be done to nerf this card. I think I'm going to make a video as to how, at least in my opinion, what they should do to nerf this card. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for today, guys. I have the honorable mentions here for you. The honorable mentions are, the first one I'm going to go with here is, actually we're going to do this one. We're going to go with the Graveyard. That is my honorable mention. Now, the Graveyard is a card that the reason why I think this card is slightly overpowered is because of RNG. You've probably seen this be explained before, but RNG stands for Random Number Generator, which basically means that when this card is played, there is a random pattern that shows up for the skeletons when they pop up. You never know where they're going to come from. You can't adequately predict it. So this card becomes kind of a liability in the game simply because you never can predict what it's going to do. You can kind of have an idea, but you may not be right. This thing's virtually always going to get damage out on the tower unless you have tons of cards defending it, which you're going to be spending more elixir than the 5 elixir that this costs to use. So I do think it is broken in a sense that I don't really think it has a lot of place in the game simply because it is random, and this is a competitive game. Randomness in competitive games is just not a thing. You don't want to play with randomness. That really ruins a lot of competitive edge. So that is why I think the Graveyard is broken in that sense. OP, but I also don't think it is that hard to counter. So if you play right, if you conserve your elixir, it's not that hard to counter, which is why it is in the honorable mention section. The next card we have is another one in my deck, and that is the Ice Spirit. This is my second honorable mention here. Reason why I say the Ice Spirit is slightly overpowered is not that it's not the best card in the game. Nobody's like, wow, the Ice Spirit is just so broken, like this thing's doing all the damage, doing all this stuff. No, nobody is that bothered by the Ice Spirit, but when you look at it for what it is, kind of like the Knight, it offers so much value for so little elixir here. So it does do a decent amount of damage. One nice thing I like about this card is if you have enemies that survive a log or a zap, the Ice Spirit will generally take them out if they're a squishier target, such as like minions or I don't know if they have over leveled goblins or something. This thing will do a good job. It also has tons of value in its 1.5 second freeze. So say that you have a character out there that's fighting another enemy's card, and then this hops on him. This will almost ensure you that you win that battle if you have enough health to be able to survive through that. It also does a really good job at helping out other cards that are already attacking the enemy tower. Say the Ice Spirit comes up, you have only have your 3 goblins from your Goblin Barrel on the tower. This freezes it for 1.5 seconds. Let's look at how many stabs that's going to give you. That's going to give you, so 1.1, you're going to get 2 more stabs out of this freeze, which is a lot of damage because you see 160 or 116. So this is a level 10. Let's see what it does at level 9 here. So 106. So that's 2 more stabs for each goblin. That's 600 damage. That's crazy. So this thing does a lot. Has so much utility. Such a good card. Definitely try it out if you guys have never used it, and it also helps you cycle. Right now, cycling is definitely one of the better things in the game. If you can get back to your win condition as fast as possible, that is just super good. Obviously, you want to play careful, but yeah, super good. That's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Top 5, let's list them down in order. You got the honorable mentions, Graveyard Ice Spirit. Then you got number 5, Healing Spell. Number 4, Inferno Tower. Number 3, Knight. Number 2, Log. And finally, the number 1 most overpowered in the game is the Night Witch. Leave a comment down below if you guys agree with my top 5. If you guys want to shift them around, or if you guys think you have a different top 5 that you would like to throw in here, let me know down below. And until next time, guys, peace out and God bless.